Applied Energestics 2 or AE2 can be very confusing if you have no idea how to get started, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get started and how to actually set up your own first network. Now if you're not familiar with AE2, I'm going to demonstrate what AE2 is. AE2 allows you to have a virtual system of items, so basically you can have like a virtual storage, right? And there is, as you can see, a couple of ways you can do this. You can either have like a server, so it's all virtual. However, it is very exhausting to craft these servers or cells. Then what you can do, and this is actually the cheapest way, is you can have your own chests or like barrels, and you can actually put items in them, and then you can access them remotely. So for example, I have a barrel here, and if I open up my terminal, which is wireless, as you can see, the barrel is here. I can actually take it out, right? And as you can see, it disappears from here. I can put it back in, but the item is back here, right? As you can see. Let me demonstrate how to set this up. Okay, but to get started, we need to do a couple of things, right? First of all, I highly recommend getting a map. Basically, what you're looking for is you're looking for this, right? It looks basically like a grenade blow up, okay? This is what you're looking for. This is something called a meteor, right? Another example of this is right here. So this is another meteor, right? And if you come here, it should look something like this, right? And what you're looking for is you're looking for to basically just mine it, right? As you can see, if you mine inside, what you're going to get is something called Mysterious Cube, and you're going to get Certus Quartz. What you want to do, right, what you need to do is you need to destroy all of this, okay? Destroy all of this, and you're going to get important stuff, right? So let me just mine this, and I'm going to show you. So when you mine this, you should get something called Certus Quartz block and budding quartz blocks, right? That is flawed and damaged and stuff. But what you're interested in is the following. You're interested in inscriber presses. So inscriber calculation press, logic, silicon, and engineering. You need all four of these. Now also what you need is you need some skystone. So I highly recommend to take about a stack, right? So just literally you can use FTB Ultimine if you have this, and you can mine most of this at once, right? As I said, take about 64. I didn't really use much, but just in case you need, it's always better to have extra rather than having to come here again and take it, okay? Then you just need a couple of resources, and that basically will allow us to get started with AE2. Okay, but before we get started, make sure that you have plenty of the following materials. So make sure to have a lot of redstone, quartz, Certus quartz, which you will grow them, which I'll show you in a second, diamonds, osmium, and redstone is actually used in most of crafting. So I would say you make sure that you have triple redstone in your storage, because you're going to need a lot of it, okay? And also I'm just actually going to add one more thing, and make sure you have plenty of red sand, right? So to get red sand, you're going to have to go to a red desert. Okay, so let's actually take a look how we can create a Me network. So a Me network consists of a Me controller, which is the brains of the operation, and technically that is it, right? Anything apart from that is up to you, right? And one more important thing I would say is the wireless access point, which allows you to access this remotely, right? Apart from that, anything else is really optional. It's the way you set up your network. It is completely up to you. Okay, but before I actually explain anything, there is an important note I need to make here. Before we start, you need to grow your crystals, because if you don't grow your crystals and you run out of them, there's going to be a problem, because if you do run out of them, you're going to have to find another meteor to get more crystals, and if you don't have any meteors around you, you're going to have a problem, okay? Right, so in the budding Certus quartz, there's 4 types, right? As you can see, damaged, chipped, flawed, and flawless. So flawless is the best, damaged is the worst, okay? Now to grow them, what you're looking for is you're looking for flawed budding Certus quartz, right? So if I take a flawed budding Certus quartz and I plug it into something called growth accelerator, which I recommend you to craft. So as you can see, these crystals are growing. Now don't destroy these crystals, right? I also recommend that you get a fortune pickaxe. Now as you can see, there is also a stage, large Certus quartz. Now what you want to do as soon as this turns into something called a cluster, small, medium, large, and a Certus quartz cluster. What you want to do is you want to stay here, and what you're looking for is you're looking for the clusters. As you can see, there's a cluster here, right? What you want to do is you want to take your fortune pickaxe and you want to destroy this, just mine this, okay? And what you get is you get 5 Certus quartz crystals, right? So as I said, if there's a cluster, as soon as you see a cluster, destroy it, because if you don't destroy it, you're basically wasting your resources. So you're wasting this block, right? I'll show you in a second how to regenerate this block. Now, as you can see, cluster, boom, mine this. As you can see, we already have 16. Okay, right? Now, also, as you may see, the longer you really have this block, it will basically degrade into processes, right? So it's going to go from flawless to Certus quartz block. And you might ask, okay, what should I do with this? I'm going to show you how you can regenerate into flawed back again, right? So let me just leave this for a minute and then I'll come back to you guys. Right, so as you can see, the block has turned into a Certus quartz block, right, with the buds on it. So what we can do is we can obviously collect these, right, if you want. I actually highly recommend, because it's all resources. You should always try to get as much resources as possible. But what we just need to do is, if you take this block, right, so if you just mine it with normal pickaxe, and then basically you're going to get a Certus quartz block. Now we can actually, as I said, we can regenerate this block, right? So if I actually put it into the water and you get some charged Certus quartz, which you can charge in a charger. So if you drop it into the water, what it's going to do is going to turn into a damaged budding Certus quartz. And you can actually repeat this process all the way to flawed, right? So if I throw this in and I get one more, right, as you can see, now it's chipped. And if I throw this block again and I throw one charged Certus quartz, this is going to become a flawed block. And as you can see, we got one more flawed budding Certus quartz. So if I plug this in or put this back in, continue to basically get Certus quartz crystals, right? So this is a simple process. It's not really that difficult. Okay, so let's actually craft a Mii controller, right? So this is the brains of the operation, and you need this because without it, you can't have an AE2 network. So what we need is we need 4 skystone, right? So to get skystone, all you have to do is just take the skystone from the meteor and then just smelt it, right? You're going to get 4 hard blocks, okay? So that is half of this done. Now, when you're creating the Mii controller, as you can see, there is something called Fluix crystal, right? So if you actually go to in-world transformation, it actually shows you that you need to put it in water, right? And as you can see, one of these, so basically the combination of these 3 gives you double, right? So if you want to make, like, for example, if you need 8 crystals, you need to put 4, right? Also, as you can see, it says charged Certus quartz, right? So what you have to do is you have to put in the charger, and the charger will transform this or charge it into something called charged Certus crystal, right? So we need 2. So I just need to put 1 more. And as you can see, I have 2. So now if I come to a pond of water or whatever you have, make sure it's some kind of water, throw this into the water. And what this is going to do is going to basically transfer into Fluix crystal, right? As you can see, we get 4, right? So as I said, we get double of what we put in. Okay, so the last part of the Mii controller is the engineering processor. Now, any information that you may need or you're not sure about something, all you have to do is, if you hover over an item of AE2, just press G, and it will actually take you to the item, right? As you can see, it actually shows you information. Now, if you press the left arrow on the left, basically on the left side of the screen, it actually shows you all information. So it shows you like AE2 mechanics, so like Certus growth. Then it shows you auto crafting. Then it shows you like meteorites and everything that you may need to know about AE2, right? So in case you get stuck, you can just come to this guide and it'll show you everything that you need. Okay, so we need the engineering processor. So if you come to the engineering processor, as you can see in the inscriber, we need to do the following. We have printed silicon, printed engineering circuit, and redstone. So if you click on this, it will actually show you that you need the inscriber engineering press and you need a diamond. So if you come to the inscriber, you put the engineering press, which is this one, and you put 1 diamond, it will start producing and it will give us something called the printed engineering circuit, right? As you can see. Also, because it's a press does not expire, right? So you can use this as many times as you want. It has unlimited uses because it's a press. Now, also you need to get silicon. So if you come to the crusher and you put any sand, this actually should work with any sand. I thought red sand is the only way to get silicon. However, this is not true. I just found this out that any sand should do the job, right? So if you put any sand, you should get silicon, right? Now, once you have silicon and you're basically ready to get your engineering processor, right, which is this, all you have to do is you have to get the engineering circuit, right? Then get your silicon, put your silicon with a silicon press, which is this one, right? And as you can see, it's going to give you a silicon press, right? As you can see, printed silicon. So now all you have to do is you have to put silicon, put redstone, and put 1 engineering circuit. And this is going to give you the engineering processor. Now, obviously, all information, as I said, can be found in the guide of AE2. So you have to just press and you can see what can be used to create what, right? Also, you can use J, which will tell you all information that you need to know. And as you can see, we have the engineering processor. So now we can just safely craft the Mi controller. I don't have the resources, but this is how you can craft it, right? And you should be ready to place your Mi controller. Okay, now I'm going to explain how to set up your own first network in the best way I can. Now, this might not be as easy as you may think because there's a lot of things I need to explain here. So the Mi controller, as I said, is the brains of your operation, okay? Now to access your network remotely, we can use something called a Mi wireless access point, right? Which you place on the Mi controller. If you open up the Mi wireless access point, you need also something called a wireless terminal to access your network remotely. This terminal has to be linked with the network. So if you put this in here into basically in the slot, then you can use this, right? Also remember to charge this, as this requires to be charged and it requires energy. Also, in the one slot only here, as you can see, I have something called a wireless booster. Wireless booster allows you to basically extend your range because the default range is only 16 meters, which I believe is 16 blocks. But if you put this in, it will basically multiply this to 500 meters, okay? Now also, obviously, the higher the range, the more energy it's going to use. And believe me, the energy goes very, very quickly. So be prepared if you want to put 64, right? You can obviously use half or something, then obviously use this less, okay? Okay, now, anything they connect to the Mi controller, like a drive, will actually be connected directly to your network. So if you open up the Mi drive, which is the virtual storage that I've showed you, right? So if I take like 2 servers from here and I put this in, now I have basically, as you can see, there is actual items, right? Also remember that the items are stored on the servers. This is why I'm saying it's virtual, because if you take this, right, the items are stored on these cells or on these servers, right? So if I, for example, put something from, let's put this wood into my terminal, right? As you can see, the wood is now stored on the servers, okay? Also on the cells, as you can see, it says like 513 of 65,000. So this is bytes. If you know computing science, you will recognize this. And as you can see, it also says 1 out of 63 types. This basically means how much storage there is left in this cell, right? So basically 63 types means how many like different items you can have, right? So as you can see, there's 63 maximum of different items. And 65,000 is basically how much storage you can really store. Now, I might be wrong about this because I genuinely do not quite understand how this works. So I might be wrong about this, but you should just understand, like, if it's full, then you need to craft another storage cell for this to work, okay? I'll try to read this 3 times. I genuinely don't understand how this works. Now, the Mi drives are very, very exhausting to craft. So what we can do is there is a cheaper option. We can use something called basically bus storage, right? Storage bus, which allows us to connect chests to make our own storage area, right? Now, this is actually probably the best way to get started. And I also recommend it because this allows you, for example, to use barrels, which barrels store a lot of items of the same item, right? So you can put wood. So if you have a lot of items, you can use barrels to save storage, right? So let me actually demonstrate and explain how to do your own storage system. Okay, so when it comes to building your own storage system, every single phase of the Mi controller has a phase, and every phase can be connected with the cable. And as you can see, every side has 32 channels. This is the maximum per phase. The good thing is you can actually build more, like you can build a whole circle with this, which I'll show you later. So basically, each side of this phase has 32 channels, right? So if I connect this with a smart dense cable, which I highly recommend because it is a bit expensive, but this allows you to use 32 channels, which means you can have 32 chests or 32 like barrels, right? And then what you have to do is, for example, if I place a chest, right? If I place a chest right here, I might actually have to place it like, let's try to place it like this. If I place a chest, right, and I place a storage bus, make sure you place it like this. So if you have your chest, place it like this. God damn it. Place a chest and then place a storage bus like this, right? So it should be with the insertion towards it, right? And then put a smart cable. So if you put a smart cable connected to the chest, and if you actually look at the smart cable at the top, it says 1 out of 32 channels, right? You can actually use the smart cable. However, the smart cable only has 8 channels, right? You can actually use other cables, but I would recommend using the smart cables, because the smart cables, yes, they're a bit more expensive, but they allow you to see how many channels you're using, and this will save you a lot of issues later on, right? Because if it's full, that means you need to put another cable, right? For example, I need to put it from this side to get additional 8 channels, right? This problem can easily be avoided, as I said, with a simple dense cable. So if you put a dense cable, and if you put a dense cable and then a smart cable at the end, now this cable has only 8 channels. That is true, but the thing is you can extend these cables and you can put like additional cables from here to additional chest, and now we have 2 channels, right? As you can see, 2 channels. Right, so the dense cable is like the leading cable, and then what you have to do is you have to offset or like split cables to use different channels, because I cannot use this cable, this Fluix cable, I cannot use it to connect like 32 channels. They have to be split, okay? They have to be split, because it won't work otherwise. Now, like I said, just in case you run out of the faces, what you can do is you can extend this. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the sizes for this would be, but I'm pretty sure like even a circle like this, right, or a square like this will be enough for you to plug in quite a lot, like to expand your network completely, right? And just to show you guys that this setup absolutely works, if I open up a chest, as you can see, there's a diamond block here, and if I open up my terminal, as you can see, the diamond block is registered, which means it works. Now, you may also ask, can I not just connect the dense cables to the chests or channels directly? The answer is no. As far as I'm aware, and I've tried this, it does not work, right? So let me demonstrate. If I try to put a storage bus and I try to put a cable, it does not work because the dense cable is too big. So this is why I said you need to split your network, because the dense cables are only supposed to be used to lead the network, right? The purpose of a dense cable is just supposed to give you channels, whereas the smart cables, like the normal smart cables, Fluix ones, are supposed to connect the chest, right? So if I try to put a storage, as you can see, I cannot put it, right? If I try to put a dense cable first and then a storage bus, it does not work, right? So this is why you need to use the Fluix cables or other ones, the smart cables, to connect channels together, okay? Okay, so I built a simple network to show you guys what you can build as a simple setup, okay? Just in case you guys are confused. So we have dense cables and then we have smart cable. Now, only on this smart cable, I can only have maximum of 8 channels. If I want to have more chests, what I would have to do is I'll have to plug in another cable and then use this cable to extend the network, okay? And as you can see, I have 6 chests, right? So these chests, double chests, count as one channel, which is very, very good. And as you can see, everything can actually be connected on one block, right? So we have 2 storage buses and a cable connected on one block, which is very, very good. And if I open up my wireless terminal, as you can see, I put basically block in each of the chests, right? And as you can see, I have 6 items, which means I have basically 6 channels working and 6 chests are connected. This is also how I troubleshoot, right? So I basically put one item in a basically like something I don't have in my network, and then I plug in the cable and then I put something I don't have in my network and to see if it displays. If it displays, that means it's connected, right? Additional setup, what you can do is you can actually do the same thing with the barrels. So if I basically plug in some barrels to this, right? Let's plug in like 3. And if I put basically storage buses to this, right? Cable, make sure it's this. And then I'm going to put, for example, right, I actually connected to the wrong way because it's supposed to be the other way, but it's okay, it doesn't really matter. As you can see, there is with jungle log, spruce log, and a birch log. So that means all of these 3 chests or barrels are connected. And as you can see, it uses 3 channels, right? I hope you guys understand this. It is not that difficult. Once you start like building networks, once you build like your second, third network, you will be an expert. This is not that difficult, right? Building simple networks, the more advanced stuff is like auto crafting and stuff. I'll show you that later in the videos. But I hope I've explained everything properly. If you have any questions, please comment down below. I'm going to try to make more videos about AE2 and overall Minecraft. And as I said before, if you are interested in Minecraft content, don't forget to subscribe, as I'll be posting only Minecraft content from now on. Thank you for watching and peace.